Gash, let's focus on you for a little bit here. You're now the
Oh,
third FPL Hotline member to play their wild card. I played mine, I think, week 3. Taz, you were last week, right? And Gash, here you go, game week. Ahead of game week 6. Why don't you take us through your team and tell us what you're thinking?
yeah,
And
sure. So I think,
can we pull up the team?
yeah, I think C4 has
C4,
the
you
the
got it.
graphic. He looks confused.
There
There it
we go.
is. All right. So here is my wild card team. I was hoping to hold this wild card until the double digits, but I think the Virgil van Dijk injury really put me over the edge in terms of not being able to handle all the moves I wanted to make without taking a significant number of hits. So I opted to keep Ryan and Walton as my two keepers. I'll touch on that in a second when I get to my defense, but I saw a stat that Brighton have been incredibly unlucky to concede the number of goals that they have. For example, over the weekend with Crystal Palace, they didn't keep a clean sheet because of a penalty, but Palace had an expected goal of like 0.01 or something like that. Like they were absolutely awful, which I think was also a credit to Brighton's defense. So I'm happy with Ryan, and I didn't want to spend the extra zero point 0.3 or whatever it is now to bring Martinez in, the Villa goalkeeper. And then I have Walton, of course, as my backup, so that once he's back to full fitness, he should be the Brighton backup. So it's nice to have a 8.5 total goalkeepers with both on the same team in case one gets hurt. My defenders, I went with Target from Aston Villa, Dallas from Leeds, Robertson, Walker-Peters, and Kilman. So I did take out Trent, like I was mentioning. It helped free up funds in the rest of the team, and I wanted to keep Robbo in there, like I said, because he's still flying forward and creating a lot of chances. So I think he'll still get attacking returns and clean sheets here and there. Dallas, I was looking at the Leeds fullbacks, and Ayling is going to be playing as a center back most likely for the next couple of weeks. With one of their normal starting center backs injured, so he's probably going to slide in there. So I'd rather have the attacking fullback. Target is one of my 3 Aston Villa players. At 4.5, I think he's a pretty good deal. He gets forward quite a lot, and Villa have had actually the lowest expected goals against in the league this season so far. So they've been looking very solid defensively as well. And that's against, of course, the Liverpool game. So I think they'll continue to be solid. Walker-Peters I kept in there. I like him as an offensive option from Southampton with clean sheets here and there as well. And then Kilman is the 4.0 that I have. There's a chance he gets benched with a couple of Wolves defenders coming back to full fitness, but at least it's a 4.0 that has a chance of starting. So I'm glad there to free up a little bit of money and keep him in the team. And he's also played really well the last couple of weeks, so who knows? Maybe he'll retain his spot.
Question.
Yeah,
How
go
come you
ahead.
went with Kilman over the likes of Mitchell, who's a 4.0, who's starting now, and Ferguson from Palace, who may be starting in a couple weeks?
Well, Mitchell is now maybe a 4.2 with the price rises, I think.
Right. He did go. Okay.
Patrick Van Aanholt's also back, so he's probably like a top 3 player on Palace. So I really don't see Mitchell starting long term with Van Aanholt back from injury. And
How about Ferguson?
Ferguson is still. I haven't seen any updates on his injury, his return to the pitch. So while at the beginning of the season we all thought it was going to be within a couple of weeks, and there's still nothing on it. So I'm kind of skeptical about how long that might take. So I'd rather have like a non-injury flagged 4.0 at least sitting there. So just in case he's not automatically disqualified from being hurt.
For sure. Okay.
So moving on to the midfield, I have Grealish at 7.1, who I was actually considering before the season, and I didn't pull the trigger on it, and now I'm regretting it. He's looked fantastic so far, playing off the left wing for Villa. He creates a great number of chances. I have the number here, but he has something like he's the second most touches in the penalty area for all midfielders behind Salah only. So he's getting up the field a lot as well. And then my third Villa player I have here is McGinn. A 5.5, so he's a pretty cheap option. And the reason why I went with that is because I wanted a 5th starting midfielder who also had the chance at some returns. So he's with the way Villa have been playing, he's been scoring a decent number of points. I think he's returned in the last 3 games. So I'm happy to have him. He's a pretty quick player. and I like the way he plays as well. So I think those two could look good. And I'll get to the forwards in a second. But if Brewster becomes a starting forward for Sheffield, then it's between Brewster and McGinn as my 8th attacker. So I'm okay with that most weeks to have a choice between those two. Salah, kept in my team. He's Mo Salah. What more do you need to say? He's on penalties for Liverpool, and although Mane's had maybe a little bit more, looks a little better recently. Not that Salah's looked bad, but Mane's looked really good. But I just can't count out Salah, especially with the number of penalties being given so far this season. And he just always looks so eager to run and in such good shape that I really think that he'd be the one, taken off last if they were routing a team, 4-5-0 or something like that, or 4-4-5-4 now with Van Dijk out for the season. I have Sterling in there because I had KDB, and KDB, of course, is still most likely hurt for another couple of games. So I just my Man City placeholder in there, and I'm thinking about keeping Sterling, or there's a chance I move him down to Bruno Fernandes. But I wouldn't want to do anything with the funds just to get back to KDB once he's fit. So it's most likely staying Sterling for now. And then James Rodriguez is creating a bunch of chances for Everton, and they've looked, of course, really, really good. So I had him in there pre-wild card, and I kept him in there.
Quick question. Mm-hmm. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think before the season you went with a Southampton triple, and now you're going for the Villa triple. So those are two pretty unconventional triples, if I may say. So yeah, I just wanted to congratulate you on the size of your balls for doing something like that.
Yeah, so I almost went the Southampton triple preseason, but then Armstrong got hurt right before the season started.
Oh, you switched it? Okay.
Yeah, I pulled him out. I probably would have stuck with it. But I don't know. I feel pretty confident about this. This way, I don't have to, I'll get the clean sheet covered from target without having Martinez in goal, who I believe is the most owned keeper now in FPL, or at least he's up there. He's price risen like 3 times already.
Yeah, he's been great.
Yeah, no, I feel good about all these guys. The alternative to McGinn in the 5.5 range is someone like ASM or something. And while ASM looks really good when he's playing, but I'd rather have a slightly worse player from a team that's playing really well than an ASM on a Newcastle team that are relatively inconsistent and, may I say, pure crap. Might be more accurate.
Right. And a quick note on KDB. Yesterday, Pep Guardiola said we expect Kevin to return in the next few weeks. So the bald fraud not giving us much to work with there, but at least we know he's probably out for this weekend. So so Sterling makes more sense. Okay, and how about your forwards?
Yep. So then I have DCL in there, pre-wild card. Not much needs to be said. His highest expected goals in the league, and the man's just killing it this season. He's returning every single game. He scored a hat trick, and he actually scored a hat trick in the cup as well, even though it doesn't count toward the FPL points or anything. But he's just looked really, really solid, and I don't see Everton slowing down unless there's some major injury issue or a COVID strike. But I kept him in there. I brought in Brewster as a 4.5. He's Sheffield's record signing, so I think they're going to be, especially with their lack of goals, I think they'll be turning to him sooner rather than later. And if he's can continue the promise he showed at Liverpool, I think he can cement a spot as a starting striker there. And it'll be good value. A 4.5 starter is good pretty much anywhere across the league. Especially at Sheffield, where the other strikers aren't really at the level where they'd be displacing him or anything if he gets into a good run of form. And then Harry Kane, just playing really, really well this season. Something that might go a little under the radar is he's actually created the most chances in the league, big chances in the league this season. He's created 7 of them, and no player has even has 6, I don't think. So he's scoring goals, and he's also creating a lot for his teammates, and I think that'll only continue once Bale gets back into full fitness, and you could just see him so easily setting up Son and Bale for a bunch of goals while adding his own. So I'm really happy with that pick.
Just a quick word on Brewster. If he does anything, he'll probably be Sheffield's best player. As of right now in FPL, their highest scorer is McGoldrick with only 14 across the whole 5-game week. So Brewster does pretty much anything. He's of great value. And Kane as well is probably the best passing striker in the world at this point. It's got to be between him and Benzema, but he's just been unreal. So that's another solid pick. Any final thoughts you want to share about your team? Anything that you're
No.
thinking of? Anything that you may change before the deadline in 2 days?
Yeah, so I think the only thing I had mentioned was the Sterling move, and I am still kind of considering Sterling to Bruno, but I think I'm most likely going to stick with Sterling. Bruno or United play, I think Chelsea and Arsenal the next 2. It's Chelsea this week, and I think it's Arsenal the week after. So I might just give it a few weeks and reevaluate once KDB is closer to being fully fit.
I have a question that kind of goes out to all of us, since some of us have, Everton assets. Gash, you mentioned briefly that, you kind of, after the sample size of like 5 game weeks up to now, you're kind of confident that Everton are able to create. How do you feel now that Richarlison is, I believe he's suspended until November 21st. So that's like until game week 9. Do you think Everton can still create as much, or are you a little bit more worried?
I don't think they'll slow down enough to make me want to take their players out of my team. So while I can see a little regression there, I think that mostly they'll still be playing well enough that I'll be happy to have him in my team. The other thing I do want to mention is actually it's funny. I had Gordon as my midfield fodder since the start of the season up until now. So he was taking up an Everton spot. He actually price dropped to 4.4. The reason why I had him in there is because he looked really, really sharp whenever he played last season. And now, of course, he wasn't getting a spot in the team and hardly even making the squad. So it'd be really funny now if he comes in and starts, banging in goals and assists and flying with this Everton team right when I take him out. But yeah, no, to answer your question, I'm still confident about them, keeping their players and having them in my team.
Yeah, if you were asking all of us, Richarlison is a key part of their team, obviously. But just the way that they're flying and the way they're playing and looking at their next few fixtures, you said he's going to miss the next 3 weeks. So that means he'll be missing Southampton, Newcastle, and Man United. I'm sure they'd love to have him for that United game, but the other 2 fixtures just don't seem too awful. So yeah, I don't have any. I have James Rodriguez at the moment. Sorry, trying to get Calvert-Lewin in, and Richarlison going down doesn't change my mind. I'm still trying to get Calvert-Lewin in. So yeah, it doesn't change my mind. C4.
I just have one question for Gasch'S wildcard team. Where's Sergio Aguero?
Kuhn is on my radar. I really want to bring him in, and actually, what I'm thinking is, I never want to take out Harry Kane when he's in form like this. But once the fixtures turn, maybe find a way to. I doubt I can work him in with Aguero and Kane. So it's really a question of whichever one of them hits better form.
Just because while you're talking, I was really brainstorming how I would do it. If you went Sterling to Fernandez, McGinn to 4.5, and then Grealish to like a 6.0, and you take Calvert-Lewin to Aguero. Nice double premium.
Oh. Well, at that point, I'd suggest you to manage your own fucking team and leave me to do what I want.